Now we are going to discuss the gamma function. The gamma function. So the gamma function is defined by the improper integral. So we will write this gamma of x. This is the symbol, this is the argument. So gamma of x is defined by the improper integral 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt such that x is greater than 0. Now this is the definition of the gamma function. We will see why this condition is important, but first we will like to prove the fundamental property of the gamma function. The fundamental property of the gamma function, which states that gamma of x plus 1 is equal to x of gamma of x. So the proof is simple and straightforward. Let's look at its proof now. Proof. We start with the left hand side, which is gamma of x plus 1. You simply replace x with x plus 1 in equation 1 and we get 0 to infinity t raised to power x plus 1 minus 1, which simply gives x e raised to power minus t dt. Now we are going to apply integration by parts. This will be the first function, this will be the second function, this will be differentiated, this will be integrated. So the first term when applying integration by parts is we keep the first function as it is and then we integrate the second function, which is nothing but minus of e raised to power minus t evaluated at the endpoints 0 and infinity. Now this minus sign with the already existing minus sign in front of the second term gives plus. Now remember, we have to differentiate t raised to power x, which is nothing but equal to x t x minus 1 e raised to power minus t so we have e raised to power minus t dt, and the limits are same 0 to infinity. Why is the derivative? So the derivative of t raised to power x is a constant, is x into t raised to power x minus 1. So that is why the derivative of this has been written like this. Since x is a constant, it can come out and one can write this as minus t raised to power x e raised to power minus t 0 to infinity plus x 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt. Now we have to evaluate the first term at the two endpoints. So we will do that now. Let a is equal to limit t goes to 0. I am not going to write the minus sign. Whatever the limit evaluates to, we will write the negative sign at the end. So limit t goes to 0, t raised to power x over e raised to power t. Remember, in the definition itself, it is mentioned that x is greater than 0. If that is the scenario, we find out that e raised to power t, that is the denominator, goes to 1 when t goes to 0 and the numerator goes to 0 when t goes to 0. So the limit evaluates to 0. Now let's look at the upper limit. So b is equal to limit t goes to infinity t raised to power x over e raised to power t. Now here we have a problem, since we realize that it is of the form infinity by infinity, but we also know that we can apply the L'Hospital's rule and differentiate both the numerator and the denominator. So we will do that now. So limit t goes to infinity. So the derivative of the numerator is simply x t raised to power x minus 1 over e raised to power t. But wait, you see that this is again of the form infinity by infinity. So we can go on differentiating both the numerator and the denominator again and again until we do not have this form. So limit t goes to infinity, on repeated application of the L'Hospital's rule. We have x into x minus 1, then x minus 2, up to we will finally have 1 over e raised to power t. Remember, before this step we will have t over e raised to power t, but that will again be of the form infinity by infinity, and then we differentiate it again, we get 1 over e raised to power t, thus giving this relation. Now it is not of the form infinity by infinity. So now when we put t goes to infinity, the entire thing, the limits, that is, it evaluates to 0. So we find out that the first term evaluates to 0 at both the endpoints provided x is greater than 0. So it simply is equal to x 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt. But wait, you see from equation 1, this is the definition of the gamma function. So we have x into gamma of x. Thus we have proved the fundamental property of the gamma function. I will rewrite this again for future references. So we have gamma of x plus 1 is equal to x of gamma of x. Now we are going to prove that gamma of x plus 1 is simply equal to x factorial provided x is a positive integer. Now we are so the proof is as follows. We are going to repeatedly apply the fundamental property to this equation. So the left hand side is gamma of x plus 1. We can write it as x of gamma of x, and then we can write it as x of x minus 1 into gamma of x minus 1. And on repeated application, we will have x into x minus 1 into x minus 2 up to 1, and then gamma of 1. But the problem with this is we have to evaluate gamma of 1, which is very simple to evaluate in the first place. So gamma of 1 is what? So I will rewrite the definition of the gamma function here for clarity. Gamma of x is 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt provided x is greater than 0. So when we put x as 1, so basically this term vanishes and we have 0 to infinity e raised to power minus t dt. Now this is a simple limit to simple integral to evaluate. So this is minus e raised to power minus t evaluated at the endpoint 0 and infinity. This is equal to 1. Now if this is equal to 1, we substitute it here, we find out that the expression evaluates to x into x minus 1 x minus 2 into 1. This is nothing but equal to x factorial. This is quite a useful relation. Now so far we have only discussed about the positive arguments of the gamma function. Now we will extend our definition to negative arguments of gamma function, that is for x is less than 0. We will again use the fundamental property, that is gamma of x into x is equal to gamma of x plus 1. We will rewrite it as gamma of x is equal to gamma of x plus 1 over x. But when we rewrite this into this form, x must not be equal to 0. Now we multiply both numerator and denominator with x plus 1, and we realize that the numerator is simply gamma of x plus 2 over x into x plus 1 provided x is not equal to 0 and minus 1. Now we again multiply both numerator and denominator with x plus 2. X plus 1 x plus 2. The numerator evaluates to gamma of x plus 3 over x into x plus 1 into x plus 2. X must not be equal to 0, minus 1 and minus 2. We keep on repeating this procedure until we can finally write gamma of x is equal to gamma of x plus k plus 1 over x into x plus 1 into x plus 2 dot dot x plus k, provided x is not equal to 0, minus 1, minus 2 up to minus k. Why it is of this form k plus 1? If you can see this is 3 can be written as 2 plus 1. So if this is k, this is k plus 1. Now, as we have already defined in the definition of the gamma function that the argument, if you remember, the argument is greater than 0. So we are going to apply the same thing here. This x plus k plus 1 must be greater than 0, and we find out. So if this is the case, we will have many possible values of k, but remember k is an integer, and we will have to choose the smallest integral value of k, which makes the argument of the gamma function in the numerator positive. This will be clear with an example. So we now evaluate gamma of minus 2.5. So x is minus 2.5. So we have minus 2.5 plus k plus 1 must be greater than 0. K must be greater than 1.5. So the smallest integer integral value for k is 2. Now let's evaluate the right hand side. So this is equal to minus 2.5 plus 2 plus 1. Now if k is equal to 2, we will have only 3 terms in the denominator. So we have minus 2.5, then minus 1.5, and then minus 0.5. This is equal to minus gamma of 0.5 divided by 2.5 into 1.5 into 0.5. Now if we evaluate the value of gamma 0.5, we can find out the answer for gamma of minus 2.5. In this section, we will evaluate the value of gamma 0.5 or gamma half. I will rewrite the definition of the gamma function again. So gamma of x is equal to 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt. So gamma of half is equal to 0 to infinity t raised to power minus half e raised to power minus t dt. So we will have some substitution here. So let t is equal to x square. So we have dt is equal to 2x dx. We will substitute all of this here, but first let's check the limits. As t goes to 0, x goes to 0, t goes to infinity, x also goes to infinity. So the limits remain invariant. So we have integral 0 to infinity x raised to power minus 1 e raised to power minus x square, and dt can be written as 2x dx. So the integral further evaluates to 2 into 0 integral 0 to infinity e raised to power minus x square dx. Now we have to find out the value of 0 to infinity e raised to power minus x square dx. But I is still invariant if we substitute x with, or if we replace x with y, we will have the same value for I. We are now going to multiply equations 2 and 3 to get I square is equal to 0 to infinity e raised to power minus x square plus y square dx dy. So now we are going to have the substitution from xy, change of variables basically, from xy to r comma theta, such that x square plus y square is equal to r square and tan theta is equal to y by x. So the area element in the polar coordinates is equal to r dr d theta. Now we have to check the limits for r and theta. As x goes from, so this is x and this is y, x goes from 0 to infinity, y goes from 0 to infinity. So the r will also go from 0 to infinity, but it is the theta which will only have certain range of values. So r will go from 0 to infinity, but we realize, so this is theta, this is r, theta will go from 0 to pi by 2. Now making all these changes to this, we finally get I square is equal to theta going from 0 to pi by 2, r going from 0 to infinity, e raised to power minus r square r dr d theta. The theta integral can be evaluated very simply, so that is nothing but equal to pi by 2. So this is equal to 0 to infinity e raised to power minus r square r dr. So let r square is equal to u, we have 2r dr is equal to du. As r goes to 0, u also goes to 0, r goes to infinity, u also goes to infinity, so the limits remain the same. We have pi by 2, 0 to infinity, e raised to power minus u du by 2. This is nothing but equal to pi by 4 and I is equal to root pi by 2. Substitute this value back here and we get this is equal to 2 into root pi by 2. This is equal to root pi. Remember that this is root pi by 2, not the square root is not with the total term. So it is square root pi by 2. This is equal to square root pi. So we have gamma of 0.5 or gamma of half is equal to square root pi or is equal to 1.772. Now you can substitute the value of gamma 0.5 back into this relation to find out the answer for gamma of minus 2.5. In the next section, we will evaluate some simple examples based on the gamma function. So question 1, we have to evaluate gamma of minus half. So you see this is very easy because if you apply the fundamental property, so gamma of minus half, I'll rewrite the fundamental property that gamma of x is equal to gamma of x plus 1 by x provided x is not equal to 0. So gamma of minus half is equal to gamma of half over minus half. This is equal to minus 2 gamma half. So this is equal to minus 2 root pi, which evaluates to minus 3.545. The second question is gamma of minus 3 by 2. So gamma of minus 3 by 2 is gamma of minus half and then minus 2 by 3 by 2 minus 3 by 2. This is equal to minus 2 by 3 into gamma of minus half. This is equal to minus 2 by 3 into minus 2 root pi is equal to 4 root pi by 3. If you see that for negative half, the answer, the value of the gamma function is negative, but for the gamma of minus 1.5, we have the positive value of gamma function. The reason I am mentioning this point here is we will need these small points while making the graph of the gamma function. So do remember this. So gamma of minus 3 by 2 is 4 root pi by 3, which is equal to 2.363. Next, gamma of let's find out for gamma of minus 4.5. So we will again start with our procedure. So we have x plus k plus 1 must be greater than 0. So minus 4.5 plus k plus 1 must be greater than 0. So k minus 3.5 must be greater than 0. So k must be greater than 3.5, and we have to choose the smallest integer. So gamma of minus 4.5 is equal to, so in this case k is equal to 4. So gamma of minus 4.5 plus 4 plus 1 over minus 4.5. Remember, we will have 5 terms in the denominator. Minus 3.5 minus 2.5 minus 1.5 and then finally minus 4.5 plus 4, which gives minus 0.5. So this is equal to gamma of 0.5 divided by, with a minus sign, 4.5 into 3.5 into 2.5 into 1.5 into 0.5. I am going to rewrite it in the form, this is equal to minus 2 raised to power 5 gamma of 0.5 divided by 9 into 7 into 5 into 3 into 1. And now we know the value of gamma 0.5, which is simply root pi. One can evaluate gamma of minus 4.5. The reason I have written this form will be clear when we will take a general case in the future examples. But if you are unaware how I have written this form, so this is 4.5, so this is nothing but 45 by 10, which evaluates to 9 by 2, this evaluates to 7 by 2, 5 by 2, 3 by 2 and then 1 by 2. So this peculiarity, or I would say rather special property, evaluates only exists for these half integral values. So it is true for negative half integral values. So we have minus 4.5, which is nothing but minus 9 by 2. Next, we discuss the we take up some simple examples first. So the first example, first important example that we take is based on the gamma function is 0 to infinity x 4 e raised to power minus x square dx. Remember that the argument of the exponential function in the gamma function is linear. So this gives a hint. If we have to convert this into the gamma function form, we have to replace x square, we have to substitute x square is equal to t, which gives 2x dx is equal to dt. So one can write dx is equal to dt by 2x, which we will write dt by root t. Substituted here, we get the limits will remain the same. So we have 0 to infinity t square e raised to power minus t dt by 2 root t. This is equal to half 0 to infinity t raised to power 3 by 2 e raised to power minus t dt. Now if this is equal to x, so this is nothing but gamma of 5 by 2 from the definition. I will rewrite the definition of the gamma function. So gamma of x is equal to 0 to infinity t raised to power x minus 1 e raised to power minus t dt. So if we substitute x plus 1, we have 0 to infinity t raised to power x e minus t dt. We have a similar form here where x is equal to 3 by 2, so this evaluates to gamma of 5 by 2. So using the fundamental property, we will open this up. So half into 3 by 2 of gamma 3 by 2 is equal to 3 by 4 into half gamma of half but gamma of half is root pi. So this is 3 root pi by 8. Next question is evaluate 0 to infinity 4 x4 e raised to power minus x4 dx. So evaluate this. Again, always remember to make the argument of the exponential function in the gamma function, if you have to convert it into gamma function, to be linear. So we will substitute x4 is equal to t. So we have 4x cube dx is equal to dt. So we have dx is equal to dt by 4 x cube. So here we can write x is equal to t raised to power 1 by 4. So x cube is equal to t raised to power 3 by 4. Substitute everything here to get 0 to infinity. The limits will remain again same. 4 t e raised to power minus t dt by 4 t raised to power 3 by 4. This is equal to 0 to infinity t 1 by 4 e raised to power minus t. So this is x. So this is equal to gamma of x plus 1. This is equal to gamma of 5 by 4. So finally, we look at our last example for this session, which is gamma of 3.5. So gamma of 3.5 from the fundamental property itself can be written as 2.5 into gamma of 2.5. This is equal to 2.5 into gamma of, if we repeatedly expand this into 1.5 into gamma of 1.5, this is equal to 2.5 into 1.5 into 0.5 into gamma of 0.5. But gamma of 0.5 is equal to root pi. So this evaluates to 3.3225. So we have not looked at several of the arguments for the gamma function, but I will take all of those cases when we will draw the function, draw the graph of the gamma function. In the next session, we will take further generalized examples of the gamma function, and then we will eventually proceed to the beta function. Thank you.